I had this thought and I looked it up and it's confirmed. Garys are disappearing.
There's no longer.
When was the last time you saw a baby Gary?
I haven't seen a baby Gary in a while.
There's a reason for it, and it's
I feel like Gary is a name you earn.
Well, it was popular
like-
for a while, and now it's no more. And
It's like you were a guy just named Jack, but now for your deeds and bravery, we shall call you Gary.
Today, from now on, Gary.
Gary, you're an adult boy with a big beard. Now you're Gary.
Baby Garys, dude. Tell me when the last time you saw one of those.
I haven't seen a baby Gary in years. Heck yeah.
Yes.
Bonjour, everybody.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. Welcome to the Buddy System Podcast. I'm Chris.
I'm Matty. Hey.
We don't have a guest again for this episode because we didn't fucking want one. We don't care. Shut up. You shut. No, you shut up.
You shut up, dude.
No, you.
We don't need it.
Hey, you don't.
We love our friends. We need them all desperately, but also it's called the buddy system because sometimes you just need a buddy and you can fucking knock it out of the park with that.
Yeah. Today is the 14th of July. If
Bastille
you're listening to this
Day.
for free, you got this on Tuesday the 14th. Bastille Day. For our one French listener, we see you. This
Thank
whole
you.
episode is for you.
We see you.
We're
You're
going to
supported.
talk about a revolution.
And
No reason.
Yeah. You are seen and you are loved.
We're talking about a revolution for no reason, by the way.
We might just kind of we discussed maybe just checking out like especially when the podcast day falls on or near a revolution anniversary.
People liked the Cinco de Mayo episode, or at least one person that commented or two people that commented did, and again, we see you.
We see you and you're seen and you're loved.
Yeah.
And
Thanks for interacting. It turns out if you interact with your favorite podcasts, it can dictate what they do.
And also, we're learning Discord.
Yeah, we're going to do... So it ended up being like a
Sean's
thing.
here today, and he's going to teach us as soon as this is done.
It ended up being a thing where I basically gave a book report to Matty, and Matty reacted. And so we're going to maybe this might be like a soft launch of a new segment where it's like one of us...
Make me a book report.
Gives each other the book report of something that they find fascinating.
Well, because last time it was Cinco de Mayo, but Israel was just pulling everything up on the screen, and then you were just reading it.
And you could have read it too.
Yeah, but you sounded so convincing, and like if you weren't watching the pod and you were just like driving and listening to it, it sounded like you were just like this absolute historian on like all the history of the Mexican people.
Just got Mexico.
And I think at one point I was like, by the way, he's reading, just so you guys know. I can see it too. He's just the one doing the talking.
I could do this if I want. I could be reading it.
We're doing it. And then today we were talking about the Bastille Day episode.
Yeah.
And I was like, should we both do this? And I was like, and you were like, or should we just have one of us,
Me.
you,
One of me.
one of me,
Yep.
one of yous,
Yep.
yous guys.
These gazes.
And then I look up nothing.
Yep.
And then it's you made me a book report. And I'm excited.
It's a book report. It's going to be all over the place. I didn't really write it out in full, but we'll try to present it in fun. I think it's an interesting subject to talk about, especially in the midst of the America 250 extravagance. I think it's definitely it's an interesting thing to talk about. I also think that people need to celebrate the 4th of July, which our last episode was about.
Mm-hmm.
But we need to remember that episode or that holiday
Also about
is
revolution.
celebrating a revolution, and it's something that people that in power maybe should not forget. That most big holidays are us celebrating when people who got too powerful were toppled. So
True.
yeah. And the French are doing it right now. The French are doing it today. They are launching fireworks. They are also going to take tons of pictures of fireworks as well.
That was also before lasers and drones and satellites. Things are a little scarier now, but
Yeah.
True.
That's the other
We
thing.
still had to
One of the things that when I was reading about this, and I think that this is something like we haven't seen like a significant revolution in a while, which historically is an outlier. I think back in the day, there was a lot of revolts. There were some things, at least in certain times, when a big idea came along, like
it
democracy
depends. If we're talking about
communism.
If you say historically, it's the thing we also probably refer to once a week on this pod, which is that history is written by the victors.
Well, I'm just saying right now we're in a time when there's not been many new ideas as to how to run this thing.
True.
We've kind of come to this dead end that is democracy, and we're going like, might be as good as it gets. And there's no one who's like come up with some other thing where it's like, we need to overthrow it. And so That's the one thing.
It's also been kind of a farce. I mean, the word democracy and the concept of it. Like,
Well, it's
let's be honest.
Yeah.
Like the last 100 years here,
We live in
you
an
get
oligarchy now.
you get two choices.
Yeah.
And
Two
like,
choices, and also the amount of like choice is limited to like a couple branches of factions and cabals in a way, like not to be too conspiracy, but like
right.
we got two Bushes, two Clintons running for president, like a fucking.
And I voted for Hillary, but I was still like this, like no husband and wife or no father and son in a democracy.
There's too much of
and
a
true democracy should be president, and like
the Democrats wonder what's going on, but there's too much of a direct line of succession in the Democratic Party for people that believe that there's a true democracy.
The only exception I would make would be Michelle, but other than that, no more.
Yep. Anyway, also I think one of the things to learn from Bastille Day is that the grass is not always greener on the other side. That is definitely a fucking thing.
Here's one of the things I think about Bastille Day when it comes to mine, and I could be super wrong frequently.
Yeah.
I know that bocce is Italian, but for some reason, is bocce ball played on Bastille Day like in a huge way?
I have no idea. I have no clue. I didn't look up how they celebrate Bastille Day. I just know what it is.
You just assume that it's probably also fireworks and just drinking
saw
until
a picture of a
your
bunch
cousin
of fireworks.
dies.
The French call this version of it pétanque.
Pétanque.
We would never call it something like bocce ball. It's pétanque. They play pétanque on Bastille Day. Cool.
Yeah. What does it keep?
Playing pétanque is a beloved national pastime and a popular outdoor activity on Bastille Day.
Is the French court way bigger? I feel like it's like.
Who knows?
What's that version of pool that like when you see it's like
just billiards, I think.
When it's like 10,000 feet long.
Yeah. They're playing on like a straight up field.
Yeah.
I think that's just, I don't know. Anyway,
okay, sorry.
Let me give you my fucking book report, you piece
I
of
have
crap.
brain damage and a diagnosed medical condition that I'm medicated for, and it's making it worse.
So, Bastille Day is celebrating on the 14th of July when the French stormed the capital. They stormed Bastille. Well, they stormed the Bastille to get a bunch of gunpowder to then begin their revolution. During that time, the French royal family was living in Versailles, so they weren't in Paris. So them storming the Bastille was like it was like them holding where all the armaments of the French government was.
This is like the Marie Antoinette days.
Yes. The reason they did this was a few days before they had called this thing called the Estates General, which was like a meeting of the three estates. The French government was ruled in three estates. There was two estates at the top, which was like the royals, the nobility. And then there was the commoners, which was the third estate. The third estate was 98% of the population and had 100% of the tax burden, which
that sounds
familiar.
Is that weird?
So they demanded
sounds like something that shouldn't happen.
They demanded from the king
ever
this thing called an Estates General, which the king wanted to do as well because the king was bankrupt and his only option was to tax the rich. So he was trying to like turn the poor people on the rich. He was trying to do this whole leveraging of like getting the poor people kind of riled up about how much taxes they pay the nobility so that the nobility would then pay their fair share of taxes, which they didn't do at the time, so that he could lift the crown out of debt.
So it was like for the first time, they were like, don't be mad at me, be mad at your neighbors. But now for the first time, be mad at your richer neighbors that are a little bit less rich than me.
And so the Estates General he didn't end up getting to the discourse he wanted at all. Immediately it got into how are we going to count the votes? And it was like, originally he was like, well, the two noble classes will all vote, and whoever wins that vote, it'll be one vote, it'll be a three-party vote. But it means 98% of the population only gets one vote, where the other aristocrats get two votes. So as long as the aristocrats agree, they'll always defeat the
Well, yeah, I mean, the
people.
system's like set up for democracy, but always so that
immediately the King Louis's plan doesn't work, and the populists are like, no, we want to be counted for a vote every head. We don't want this like weird
stupid question really fast
system electoral college that you've got going.
Quick dumb question. Louis the 14th, right?
I think it's the 16th.
Okay.
Yeah. And then so he basically, his plan backfires. He allows them to meet, and he's like, you guys can all meet and do this general assembly. But at the same time, he's like, yes, go ahead and meet. He assembles the army. Like, he's like telling them they can meet with one hand, and on the other hand, he's like, I'm gonna break this assembly up. And so there was kind of this panic and this hysteria that someone was going to revolt, or that there was going to be some kind of. So basically, the hysteria that someone was going to revolt caused the revolt. Like,
I mean, this was like the famous like then let them eat cake thing.
yeah,
right.
Yes. It was just a great big
People
fear.
need bread in circuses, and if they don't have both,
It came to a head
Yes.
because they had several bad harvests the year before. The crown was poor because they had sponsored the American Revolution, as well as just like the way they lived was insane. They were getting
the level of decadence was like,
truly absurd and in your face. So they ended up getting the royal family was essentially like kidnapped by the new structure of government. By the way, the National Assembly is what the third estate called themselves.
Wait, here's a quick thing that as you were saying this,
Yeah.
I read this thing recently, and I just realized I think it might be on this day or about this day.
Right.
It was that like a bunch of the women in town in Paris, like marched 12 miles in the rain. And
You're
it was
reading my
all
mind.
women though.
Yes, so-
and like demanded a meeting.
It was called the Women's March on Versailles,
Yes.
which they basically so in Paris, this revolution was happening against the king, but the king wasn't even fucking there. The king, they had seized the Bastille. They had set up this Declaration of Rights for Man and of the Citizen, in which they were saying like it's a lot of what modern democracy is
Like
modeled
thousands
after.
of women marched 12 miles in the rain.
So because they were doing all this stuff, they were basically spinning the wheels. These women were like, well, the king isn't even here. They marched to Versailles. It was starving women, the Women's March on Versailles. And they basically kidnapped the king and his family and made them come to Paris and live in the turmoil that they had caused.
The thing I read was that they like wouldn't leave, and they were like, we want to talk to him. And like he came out and talked to them, and they were like, no, we're still not leaving until you come with us back. And then he came with them back, and then the thing that I read said they never returned to Versailles.
No. So they
Pretty
ended up
fucking badass. Dude.
Yeah, it never happened. They ended up, that was the beginning of the new government that abolished nobility, all of the peerage and pageantry. They got rid of all of the titles. They had a civil constitution, which also made it of the clergy, which made it so the Catholic Church was subordinate to the French and not the Pope, which pissed off a huge part of the rural population. So almost immediately, this revolution had a revolution within it.
I mean, that's how
classic.
Most of them are fractured and dismantled.
Fractured immediately because it was like the city people were mad at the royals in a different way than the rural people were mad at the royals. And immediately, once the royals were gone, infighting began because the way the government was being run did not work out for half the population. Either the rural people were pissed or the urban population was going to, and it usually favored the urban population because that's where the orders were coming from. The royal family, they like briefly signed the little thing that said everyone, it was kind of like a false peace. And they're like, oh, okay, we believe in what you're saying. Cool. We'll be like basically a figurehead, the modern royal family that we see today. Then they tried to flee in the middle of the night. And that's when they were like, okay, you're not meaning what you say. They raided the palace.
Is that when the old G word came out?
That's when the guillotine
There we
came
go. I was
out.
wondering when that little
and-
rascal was going to come into this fucking
And so this
yarn
thing,
we're spinning.
that's kind of the beginning of the what they call the Reign of Terror. It was when this like group of 12 people started ruling in place of the monarchy. They called themselves like the Coalition of Public Safety or something like that.
Also, probably not the best dudes. Let's be honest.
The Committee of Public Safety, they were like the Jacobins, which was like the main.
I've heard that name before, but
That
I
was
don't
like
know.
the party. They had immediately split into political parties. The Jacobins were like the main faction of the radicals who had taken over. They ruled through terror. They also tried some classic stuff where they like tried to create a common enemy for the people. They declared
Again.
Well, backpedaling a little bit, when the French royal family was kidnapped, all the royals and the surrounding governments were like, if you harm them, we will invade France. Like Austria and Prussia, I think that was like cousins of Louis,
Sure.
the Spanish, the Portuguese, the Austro-Hungarian, and all these people were like, if you do that, we'll fucking we will invade you. They didn't care. They beheaded the king, and they were like, actually, we're going to declare war on Austria, and then
They were like, who wants a piece?
yeah. So the new
You
government,
guys want some too?
the new government immediately put out conscription orders for mostly the rural and obviously, but like so people in the urban environments were like joining up. They were ready to go fight the Austrians. But the people in the rural areas were like, well, we're still pissed about this Catholic real
Also,
allegiance.
we have like cows to milk and fucking vegetables to pick.
Yeah.
And this is not really our problem.
So they were trying to get them to go fight these Austrians. So then immediately there's the
poor and rural class got fucking drafted into war
yeah
that they didn't have anything to do with?
weird.
That's weird. Whoa.
And so they declare war.
We live in hell.
I think I'm messing up the orders a little bit. I think they declared
You're
war.
doing a great job. I'm sitting here enthralled.
They declared war on Austria before they killed Louis. I think they abolished the monarchy and killed Louis and formally formed the republic after the war on Austria. But that also, because they were, again, just fucking the rural people, a revolution started there called the Vendée Revolution.
Venn diagrams.
Which is down near the coast. I'm not really sure exactly where, but this was a huge part of the Reign of Terror. Was that's what they call this period.
Was there a leader or a figurehead that I would know?
Robespierre, Maximilien Robespierre was his name. He's like a well-known figure for like kind of extremism.
Oh wait, also may I interject?
Yeah.
Where does Les Mis fit into all of this?
I think right when they're beheading Antoinette and
As the closest resident gay guy to the two of us.
I think it's very. I think the women's march to Versailles.
Won't you join in
Like
our
they had it
crusade?
coming.
Won't you stand
They
and
had
march
it
with me?
coming. Pause. When is Les Mis?
Excuse me, I haven't heard you talk about Jean Valjean yet, honey.
When is Les Mis in this? Oh wait, no, it's the fall of Bonaparte. It's the fall of of Napoleon.
Wait,
God.
was he prisoner 24601?
The French were
Valjean.
really well. So this is all pre-Napoleon.
24601.
The power vacuum that Louis' head and Marie Antoinette's beheading left, and the consequential reign of terror that was led by Robespierre and the Public Safety Committee. They were anyone who was speaking out against the rebellion or the new government was getting killed. They were guillotining. Officially, they guillotined like
Thousands, right?
about 17,000 people. But
Whoa, I thought it was like,
but
that's
the number
a
is
lot.
closer to like 50,000. I think that's just in Paris. That doesn't include in like Nice. In
Holy
Nice, this is
moly.
fucked up. All right,
That's
this is
how
not.
they got all those skulls in the
This
fucking
part
basements.
is not.
Jesus
This
Christ.
part is not comedy at all. What they were doing in Nice, they were doing mass drownings. In Nice, the guillotine was deemed too slow to kill all of the traitors. They were like, so this is why I'm saying like the grass isn't always greener, because they were
Wait,
like, we'll fix everything, we'll overthrow the king, we'll
When you
get
say
this
mass drownings,
peaceful agrarian thing. They would.
let me
You
just
want me to
get-
explain what happened?
I kind of want to guess first.
Yeah.
How you would do it in mass.
Why?
With a
Why would
with a
you wanna
repeated way.
guess?
Because I live in hell. We all live in hell, and my brain went to three things right away. One, I was like, if it's ropes and rocks, that's too many ropes and too many rocks for if the guillotine is not efficient enough. So now I'm picturing some kind of really heavy metal cage that can be lowered in and out of the water, and maybe with a bottom that can empty out, so no one has to. What do they do? How do they do it? Jesus fucking Christ!
It's fucked up, but they would chain them to a barge and then pop holes in the bottom of the barge and sink the barge.
Can the barge come back up?
No, I don't think so.
They were just long on barges.
Yeah, they
And
had plenty of barges. They were
Okay.
like, we have a lot of barges and plenty of people to kill. And someone was like, I've got an idea. So that was like that was part of the, let me tell you, I've got
need to
myself
stop
a light bulb moment.
laughing with my mouth closed, because
Yeah.
that's the third time I think I've snotted. Okay.
Yeah, dude. So the French Revolution was like a good time. If you were an executioner during the Reign of Terror, this was a good time to be alive. They were inventing different ways to kill people that they hated all the damn time.
I read something somewhere where like an executioner It wasn't just some like the only guy in town that was like willing to be this big of a psychopath. It was like a profession, not unlike, you know, something morbid today, like let's say an embalmer or something. But like that they like there were good ones and better ones, and like because the best
You get
ones
sentenced to death, and you're like, oh man, you got Pierre. You're gonna have a good death, brother.
Dude, straight up. So like the thing I was reading was like they like the sharpest, like they kept their axes really sharp and they knew exactly where to hit and they were strong enough to do it because especially all these public executions, which blows my mind that people were there for the morbidity of this. But if the axe hit hard once and then the person, the head didn't come off, they had to do like 2, 3, 4 more times.
Nothing more.
Everyone's like, come on,
Yeah,
man,
I don't think
this
that's
is
good for morale at all. They're like,
Yeah.
if you're gonna kill him, do it fucking
just kill
right,
the guy,
you
man.
piece
His
of
fucking
shit.
his kids are right there. This is crazy.
Robespierre obviously didn't last long, being such a Machiavellian leader and choosing the fear over love. I mean, he literally said he had quotes of being like, "Terror is the order of the day," and he was like shutting down press. He was a sociopath. He just killed so many people, and obviously he met his end in a very similar way that he ordered. He was guillotined.
By the guillotine?
Yeah, he got guillotined.
Guillotine, my dog.
He got
Guess
the
what?
guillotine.
Remember this guy?
And this, and then came the Directory. Was what was the next? So they were,
that sounds like not an evil thing from a Bond movie.
Yeah. They were very determined not to have a single leader ever again. They wanted to do panel leadership. It was very anti-monarchy, consolidation of power. But in that, it was ripe for corruption and infighting immediately. This was instead of 12 members, which was the other directory. God damn it, what was it called? The Committee for Public Safety, which killed 50,000 people, by the way.
Oh wow!
And this also isn't counting the revolution in Versailles that got put down. That was like brutal. They went and just burned every town and killed everybody in there. Like they fully genocided a region.
For what reason?
Because they weren't going along with what the revolutionary government.
A whole
wanted to
town?
It was a whole region. They sent like the French army instead of the same guys that they gathered to go to war with Austria. They sent them over to Versailles to go.
And this is like farmers in like small towns.
Yeah, that were more Catholic than the new government, and thus not complying.
That's why one of the things that like the cornerstone of like anti-religion, I feel like, is like the amount of people that have been killed in the name of God
Because of their conviction.
for every single religion, though.
Yeah.
Like every one of the major ones at least.
Yep.
There might be some cool ones that are like, hey, hear us out, no murdering. Everyone's like, you guys are idiots.
Yeah. Well,
So, that's why the buddy system is my religion. Be friends with people.
listen, and if you're religious yourself, that's fine. If it works for you, that's okay.
A lot of like close friends and loved ones are very religious, and
Anyway, back to the fucking revolution.
Yeah.
Antoinette, she's dead. That happened a while ago. Sorry, I didn't mention that.
Also guillotined, right?
Well, yeah, she got guillotined, but she was like not very like people were starving. There had been 3
They said there's no
crop
bread,
die-offs.
and she said let them eat cake.
Like she's an insane person.
Like cake wasn't a thing. Not any of those people had ever had cake once in their life.
So the Directory was failing, hyperinflation, catastrophic. They had like just like a new money that just didn't work. They were not able to get shit done. Immediately corrupt. They were trying to design to prevent a single dictator from taking power. Didn't work, of course. There was a royalist uprising in Paris and other towns and cities across France, and a young artillery general named Napoleon Bonaparte personally crushed a rebellion himself.
Was this okay?
saving
Remember,
the government.
like a few months ago or weeks ago.
But he worked for the Directory. He helped crush this royal uprising.
And this
for
is
the
the Napoleon, because we were talking about somebody that I thought was Napoleon.
That was like the third.
The main, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
This is the guy.
So yeah, he helped the Directory crush these royalist uprisings.
And the royalists were like straight up like the billionaire class, essentially.
Yeah, trying to come back. Come back, maybe install one of Louis' jar-headed cousins.
Was Napoleon like a former member of the class, or was he like just
he was just an army guy?
aristocracy?
No, he was kind of I don't think he was aristocracy.
He didn't come from money.
I don't think so. I think he came from pretty blue collar, if whatever that means in France. I'm sure
and then
he
got
comes from
power and became bad.
relative riches to be an officer in the army. Anyway, he's given command of the army. He has a massive promotion. He goes to Italy, basically like wins.
He goes to Italy to get boots to make him look a little taller.
Yeah.
And look a little fancy.
But basically, he wins some major battles in Italy, and is getting really popular. He's in Egypt. That doesn't go so well, but he returns from Egypt a national hero. And
because he just lied about what happened.
But
Like what?
he's like, I was really good back there.
They're like,
It's
we lost.
Where's your whole army, Napoleon?
actually won.
They won. He comes,
Where's your guys? They loved us so much. We live there now.
but he comes back, and basically, he like this defeat opened the French up for like opportunistic neighbors. So Russia, Britain, and Austria, who all their royal families were related and probably related to Louis, and still pissed.
Is this like Catherine the Great was actually in Russia, but she was not Russian? Or
I don't know.
I don't either. Fuck.
Sorry.
Is that right? Nice. Close enough, at least, for what we need right now.
Anyway, Napoleon is able to, because of the outside fear, seize control of the government through a military coup, essentially, and that's the French Revolution. Is like and that's why this is like I'm not telling people don't do anything crazy, but like what a lot of revolutions happen is it's either goes the way of democracy or the way of a strong man who plunges your country into years and years of war and
Well,
violence.
it's also like depending on who you are, if you're capable of it. Like, most people are just going to get mowed down or put into camps if we try to revolt. But then, like, there's people that I trust that could have a nice time doing it. Who's the guy that Mark Kelly, that former general?
Yeah, the astronaut.
Yeah, like, okay, that guy's been in a bunch of wars. He's done a ton of shit.
I don't see him going Robespierre on anybody.
But like, we need someone who's not just like a worse guy to be like worse again. Like, it needs somebody to really reset and just like, I don't know, somehow bring dignity back or
hey,
like
sorry,
decorum.
We've been wrong for a real long time. Sorry, everybody, man.
Yeah, like how about just everyone? Can we just do nice? How about we try nice? No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Be nice to each other for
Let's
a
do
little bit. That's
angry
not how you
hatred.
get rich, Matty. That's what it's all about.
That's true. And like, oh man, I'm like, speaking of like Napoleon then becoming evil, I was talking to somebody about this the other day. Like, fucking Bezos was like a librarian guy.
Really?
I think he was like, he had a book website.
Right. He was
You
just
know what I
trying to
mean?
sell books to people.
And
now
like
he
probably was always
wants to buy
hungry and like
Venice.
capitalist. Well, the whole country.
Well, he rented pretty much all of Venice for his wedding.
Oh yeah. And it's already like sinking and smells like shit.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just like, imagine, and then Musk is a trillionaire now. Like, imagine having all that money and not like helping anybody with it.
I don't get it.
I just
And imagine having all that money and be like, I could cure world hunger, but I really want to go to Mars.
3 times over. So he could cure world hunger 3 times over with that money.
But then all the food would be eaten.
Well, that's why I'm like, I think that like this round of like the wealthy like kind of insulating themselves from this. Like, did you read about this Albanian island thing?
Yeah.
That's like, there's enough money to have that just be the fort forever, and like nobody could ever penetrate. That's the Death Star now.
That's what their goal is with
Like
that.
dozens of miles of underground tunnels, submarines can go right in there, deep water parks for like fucking naval ships.
It's
like
just crazy to me, like to yeah. And they're doing it all over again. You don't think the French royal family was doing that kind of shit? Like the fact is, like, you hear the stuff about the 3 estates, where it's like 2 of the estates had 2% of all the wealth, while the 3rd estate had 100% of the tax burden and didn't have any of the wealth. And you look at the fate of the French royal family and what happened in France. Millions of people died, and then you don't go, should we do that again? Like
everyone had the same.
That's what all these wealth hoarders are doing, though. They're basically setting us up to go, it's happening again. Here comes the Guillotine.
Right, but the time you're talking about, everyone had the same access to the same guns and shit.
Right.
There are lasers and robots and fucking drones and stuff that like...
There's stuff in the air that we think is UFOs, but the government's just like, it's actually our new fucking plane,
There's
bitch.
drones that are the size of like a housefly that'll just go into your house.
Yeah.
And they can use that anytime.
Just go up your nose and just...
Yeah. I mean, no, they would not. Here's the thing. They wouldn't. They're expensive. They wouldn't waste one on killing one of us.
Yeah, me, though. I got some pretty crazy ideas.
That's true. They would take you down. They're like, this flies $250,000. Like, we need it.
Yeah.
Get the big boy.
Send it through that big boy's brain. Make that guy go.
He needs a sleep app machine, but he won't get one, so it can just go right in while he's
Who
sleeping.
told you that?
I don't know. Your doctors.
Who told you I need a sleep app medicine and then I won't get one?
I text with your doctors all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel
We're
like
just worried about you.
sometimes in the in between when I'm like fading off to sleep, I'll hear myself snore.
And it jolts you awake.
Yeah.
Whoa! Yeah. You guys all right? Who was that? All right, I'm going to catch some Z's.
It's a crazy
Later,
out-of-body experience to have happen. You're like kind of in your own skull looking out and you like feel the vibration as you're slipping off.
I have so many friends that have, like, several of them are on CPAPs now, but like when they're not, and I have to, like, you know, it's whatever, like a weekend where we're sharing a room or, you know, a bachelor party
and they
meeting or something.
snore like a
I'm
highway
like,
in
how
the
are
rain.
you asleep right now?
Yeah.
Because it is so loud and I want to blow my brains out. Like, yeah, it's truly crazy. There was one like 2 summers ago, maybe it was last summer. It was that canoe trip I went on. And like I don't know, 10 of us were in like this like cabin.
Yeah.
And like there's, you know, people sleeping on couches and a bunch of people in beds. And like everyone was like late 30s to mid 40s. And it was just a cacophony of just sawing
Just
logs.
trumpets.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't love that for you, bud.
No.
And I'm not one. I feel bad too. I mean, last night Maeve like pretty much kicked my ass and was like, "You need to sleep in a different way right now."
Mm-hmm. On your side.
I was on face down snoring.
How does anybody sleep face down and wake up not dead?
Imagine her perspective. I'm like on my face, pretty much just going like, "Ah!"
No, you weren't snoring. You were suffocating actively. You were slowly suffocating yourself in your sleep.
Yep.
Like whenever I hear like commercials that are like, "This is for side sleepers. This is for tummy sleepers." I'm like, just people just like.
What do you sleep on?
I'm like, well, I have to sleep on my back to get there because I don't know. It's the only way.
Like a coffin?
I pray
Like
and
a dead guy?
Kind of. I'm just like, please, God, just let my eyes close and my brain shut off.
I
Then we're going sides.
I sleep sides, and I wake up every time with my arms asleep. If someone attacked me in the middle of the night, I would just have to noodle them. For a while. Yeah, just.
You're like one of those like car sales guys. You're like,
An inflatable monster.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's me first thing in the morning.
But also, here's the thing: your mass and your size. Just with
dainty.
your chest, if you're flinging these fucking meat cannons around, they're gonna steer clear.
I'm gonna do a lot of stuff with my head. I've got a really hard.
When you just
big
put your
head.
hands there, I thought you were about to say, a lot of stuff with my hips.
I'm gonna do a lot of hip attacks.
I'm gonna do a lot of thrusting, sexually terrify them.
Invade my home, I'll hump the shit out of you.
You coming to my house? Your ass, my ass now.
That's so fucked up.
So right before he said it, you just went
What
like,
kind of home defense do you do? Well, anyone that comes in, I fuck them straight to death.
not sure if you know anything about dancing or sexual energy, but I've got a couple things up my
Do
sleeve.
not rob that house. Do not rob that house. Seymour robbed that house. His hole has never been the same.
No, man, he's not been the same. He stopped robbing houses, I'll tell you
Seymour's
that.
over there just looking straight ahead. Something really unchill happened, you guys.
Hey, you guys, we should stop robbing houses.
Rob my house. I'm like, fucking come here.
What happened, Seymour? Nothing, but is this a bad idea? I don't think we should anymore, you guys.
He defended me with humps, which if you put two and two together, you could figure it out.
I don't think so.
Oh, God, that's so funny.
Like,
Guy
Like
breaks in, you're just like, come here.
yeah. I'm not gonna like this
Try
anymore
to
than
rob
you
me.
are.
I'm going to take something from you.
Your Honor, it was self-defense.
He broke straight into my bedroom, so I did what I had to.
My arms were asleep, but my hips never are. So this is what happens. I rest my case.
Your Honor, my arms were asleep. I had no choice.
The dude's just like shaking. Still.
She sentences him.
Yeah.
14 years for breaking and
And
entering.
he's like, thank God I'll never have to see him again.
For breaking and entering. And then I was over there. I'm like, yeah, I broke and entered him.
Yeah. There's more than one way to break and enter.
Yeah, there's 2 cases of breaking and entering over here.
My client was clearly self-defending by breaking and entering his body, Your Honor. Please, come on.
Dude, I think we might have found a loophole.
I don't think we should expose this loophole. I'm already skating on thin ice whether we can even joke about this.
You don't want to expose this hole?
You know what? I do now. I do. Now after that one, I can't
Dude,
not.
taught you guys about the fucking French Revolution. It might have been boring at the beginning, but it's getting
It's
interesting
getting
now.
spicy now, dude. I'm here for it.
Oh God, that's so fucking funny. Last week, we're sorry about this team. I know some people. I actually do get comments of people on the road who are really nice, and everybody who likes the podcast and comes up and says something at the meet and greets after the show. Thank you, very nice. Always means a lot. I think the podcast is one of my favorite things that I do. So
Same.
so
I love it so much.
to have people liking it and enjoying it and getting the feedback. Don't be shy. It's always nice.
It really is. And it's also like, I mean, I've had people that I know too that like I wouldn't expect to listen to any podcasts ever.
Yeah.
And they've been like, I'm really loving the podcast. I'm
Yeah.
like, really?
Yeah.
I'm like, genuinely, thank you so much.
I know.
Like,
Matt Cantor, who made the music for the pod.
so good. It's such a
uh,
bop.
He was being really nice the other day. We were down and we were in Boulder, and he was like, "I actually listen to the podcast, man." And I was like,
Well, yeah, because like not only do I not expect
He's
people to
such a good
listen, like that are like friends of mine that are like older with families and just like doing life. Like I don't listen to podcasts, which again, I probably should start so we can.
I listen to this
dial
one
this
and soccer podcasts.
Yep.
Would you be
I think
surprised?
that is evident in our podcast if you've been paying attention for both of us.
You know what I want to talk about? A podcast that I was listening to earlier.
It was about soccer.
But keep going. What were you saying?
I have no idea.
Sorry.
It's all right. Oh, but people that are like, and obviously they started, I think some people gave it a couple shots because they like us as individuals and want to be supportive. Like I'm talking about friends and family that don't do pods. But then I think maybe it's fun enough where they have listened to a bunch.
Right, who knows?
And it really warms my heart in such a genuine way.
My mom will listen to the podcast sometimes, and she texted me the other day. She was like, "Maddie's right. You should do voiceovers." Or something
It's
like
true.
that. I was like, "Leave us alone."
This is
lady.
age. Don't worry, I'm working on it.
Yeah.
Or former age. Sorry.
She's so funny.
No, we're not going to say her actual name. It's not your pervert's business what Chris's mom's name is, okay?
So what is your last week? We didn't do this segment, but people do you have a favorite animal this week?
I do, and it's multifaceted and it changes, but it all stems from one favorite animal, which is actually, I guess, patriotically a couple weeks late. But again, we're not really doing patriotism in the same way as we used to.
Not in a way that makes me feel comfortable.
No,
Unfortunately,
agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. But bald eagle
Yep.
with an asterisk or more. I thought I found a bald eagle feather,
Oh.
and I thought I found 3.
Okay. What was it?
Not sure, but looking like maybe a turkey vulture, or possibly a Canada goose, or possibly a mute swan. Which
What the hell? What's a mute swan?
I don't know, but it feels like one of those rude things.
Wait, what's a mute swan?
It's the name of a swan.
Oh, okay. I thought you were able to tell by the feather that it couldn't sing.
No, I can't tell anything. I can't tell a single thing.
I thought you were looking at the feather and you were like, "This swan can't make noise."
No, isn't that a trumpeter swan?
Nope, that's a mute swan.
Well, then Google trumpeter swan and see what the fuck that looks like.
Why?
Sorry,
What's
that sounded so mean and aggressive. I love you, Israel, and I thank you for your...
Is it a black swan feather? Is that what you mean?
No, it's like, I'll show you a picture of it.
That's a trumpeter swan. They look the same.
Oh, but they have the black beaks. Okay.
A mute swan.
You know, swans are mean. I used to do a bit about swans
They're
that I thought was
dicks.
going to go really well. And I liked it so much that and it never went that well.
What is it?
And I just kept doing it. It was that I was stoned to the park and I saw a swan. And I was like, why don't we fucking eat swans?
Right.
Because we eat literally every other kind of waterfowl.
Yeah.
And ones that are even harder to catch because they're flying.
We don't eat loons.
That's true. Is it because they're weird and they scream? Why don't we eat loons? Israel, I love you. Thank you. But one of the things I found out that's probably the only reason we don't eat them is probably because they're disgusting, or someone made a law about it in Wisconsin. It was like the king of Wisconsin says no loons.
It's illegal. They're protected.
Oh, they're protected
under an act.
Yeah. All right. That's why. So if we could, we would. That's the answer. And for swans, it goes back to like whatever king. It was a king of England who loved swans, and like that's when you could eat them. And like for like a banquet. Doesn't it feel like a banquet feast bird?
Yeah,
they're
feels like
huge.
a feast bird. I want it stuffed cornucopia style.
And it was one of those things. I feel like we might have talking. I almost just said we might have talking about this before.
That's tough. That was a rough look.
Let's talk. We'll leave it in. You know what I mean?
Leave it in.
We all make
lessons to be learned here from
We all
this
make
idiot.
mistakes. But it was like some king. We look at what king outlawed swan eating. He was basically like, all the swans are mine.
I bet it was Louis the fucking 16th.
That's a French guy. I'm talking about a British fella.
Oh, well, maybe it was a British guy.
How many Louis were over there in England over there?
I don't think there were many King Louis of England.
I think 0 probably.
Yeah, 0. There isn't a single king who.
There was one fella that was like, there was a Maine guy.
King Edward's
Act of Swans. Yeah, his name's right in the act.
Made it illegal for anyone below status of a wealthy landowner to own or consume swans.
Enforcing social hierarchy. So like, even if you're a poor person that was starving to death and you saw a swan,
You're like, no.
you
can't
could,
eat that.
but like if I get caught feeding this swan to my kids, if like some fucking loser cop comes by and is like, are you eating swan meat?
Yeah.
Beheaded.
Imagine
You know what I mean?
if there was a food that was just like only rich people could eat. It's like, excuse me, sir. Are you
There
eating
probably
ham?"
is, and we don't know. I think it's baby meat.
Oh, fuck.
I think that's what they're up to.
Oh, man, this pod's a spicy one.
Listen,
I like
we
this
either
one.
cut that maybe, or we'll get murdered.
Keep it in. Keep it in. We're both very happy. I love my life.
I do too. I love my life. I'm a strong swimmer, and despite all my injuries, I'm very good at first aid.
I'm also really good at driving.
Really good at driving. Even though I get angry behind the wheel, it makes me more dialed in and safer for my person and my passengers.
The anger helps you. You're like a Sith Lord behind the wheel.
Sometimes I think
Let the anger fuel you.
a little bit. And sometimes almost with humor, I think. But that's why, like, with crowd work, I have to be so careful if someone is actually being like a fucking idiot because the anger goes like quick. And it's sometimes when I'm in my like funniest and most biting and sharpest, like humor.
Is when you're mad. Yeah. Oh, I've seen it.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you're yelling at a guy from the behind the wheel of the car, I am cackling. Or today, you were on the phone trying to get a hold of a
Capital One.
You're trying to
Suck
get
my
a hold
whole fucking ass. Me standing.
dude. You were on the phone, clearly talking to some kind of robot, and you're just going, agent, 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 agent.
I was losing it. And then finally it was like, okay, fine. What would you like to speak to the agent about? I go, I would like to speak to the agent about speaking to an agent.
At this point, I'd like to speak to the agent about how it's been so hard to fucking speak to an agent.
Yeah.
Can't even remember why I was mad before.
I hung up and like called another number and I was like looking for numbers and then like called. Yeah, man.
How'd it go? Did you did the bank fall for any of your threats?
Yeah.
Really?
I mean, it's being worked out right now as we speak.
Sick, dude. You just kind of got to go, I'm fucking out of here if you guys
I go,
don't do
if you
this."
guys can't do this, I'm going to cancel my account. I also have a checking account with you guys and I'm going to close that too.
Yeah. And they were like, we're actually a bank that needs money.
Hopefully Capital One's not listening to that. I would never do that. That would be so annoying and I have nowhere to go. So I 100% was going to leave it all there.
You're going to get a voicemail from Capital One with that little snippet right there. And they're going to be
Those
like,
little twats.
we actually can't find your money, bitch. Good luck to you.
God damn it. That just makes me so mad that when you have to like take actual time that you can't just like send a thing and like.
I know. What a bitch.
Because I was like, let's see if I can do it with the chatbot really quick.
Yeah.
And it was like, no.
The other day, I got like delayed from a flight, ended up having to get a hotel, but there's no voucher for some reason. I talked to the person. She was like, yeah, you could probably get United to reimburse you. Just go to this website, fill out a form, attach your receipts, send them a thing, then follow it. And I was like, oh, just like that, huh?
Okay. Do you think I have the Keebler elves in my house right now?
So
That's 3 days.
Just do all of that little work and should be able to get myself a refund for the. No, actually, no.
Right.
5 hours of work. I'm actually trying to chill right now.
And that's, I feel like, the real difference when we can stack enough cash where, like, I'll be like, you know what? Fuck you. And I just don't worry about it.
Right.
But I'm like, you know what? No, I need that $300 actually pretty bad.
Yeah.
And
I
I
mean-
need you to figure this out. And they're like, you have to call the merchant. I'm like,
I'm probably
no,
still
you
going
guys.
to do it just because why not get money
Yeah.
from United Airlines?
Oh, for sure.
I'm also getting, dude, it's hot now.
You're also watching so much soccer. You can just do that. You're also good at multitasking. I am not
Yeah.
at all.
This is what's killing me lately I've taken I've been on, let's just do that. I've been on like 3 flights in the last week that have all been on 90-degree tarmacs. And
Do they shut the AC down?
the AC just doesn't really work that well unless we're in the air.
Or if like the engines are cooking hard.
And the engines are going or whatever, and we're on the land. It's just impossible. But some flights, they go open all your vents and close the fucking windows. And I've been on 3 flights in a row where I'm boiling, multiple people are boiling, and I'm like, I don't want to be the guy who's like saying to the flight attendant, like, hey, could you do the thing where you tell everyone to close their window? Like, there's multiple people with their windows open, just like sitting there like, I wonder why it's so fucking hot in here.
My face is red and my whole body's hot right
by
now.
the 90-degree tarmac. We sat out there for like 30 minutes, 40 minutes in Denver because for some reason they were like, we're only using 1 runway now. And I'm like, guys, it is hot. And the flight attendant's like looking at all the open windows being like, there's actually nothing we can do. And I was like, is there nothing we can do right now?
When someone's doing no headphones.
I just wanted to just be like, hey, can you please do the thing I know you know to do? Close the windows. So if you work for United Airlines,
Any airlines, please, for the love of God.
We're dying on these tarmacs. I don't know what it is about flight attendants that are just
they're
resistant to the temperature of the airplane. Some of these people are wearing like blazers. It's 90
a
degrees.
miserable
And they're
job.
like, I'm like, it's cold. They're like, is it? Is it actually cold? I didn't notice. I'm in a fucking small ascot and a scarf. I had no idea.
They're trying to maintain
lady,
some
fucking
semblance
hell.
of hospitality while also being in the same hell, but they can't admit that they're also in hell. It sucks. It's just a vicious circle of uncomfortability and like the no windows thing and like I feel like across the boards most airlines are getting better at saying this on the PA and then flight attendants actually doing it.
Yeah.
But when someone's going full volume on a fucking movie or something.
Dude, I've had middle
With
guy.
no headphones.
I've had middle seat grinder the last couple big flights.
A guy cruising grinder.
No, a guy.
I'm like, actually, that's kind of a perk.
Yeah, that was ripped, dude. I would love to snoop on a guy just.
I've never been on an
ripping
app.
a dating
and
app
I would
in the
just
middle.
love to just like
Yeah.
see who, watch this guy just swipe dudes.
No, it's been some like young tech bro on his laptop for a 4-hour flight in the middle seat. 2 flights in a row, same hot tarmac. I'm looking over at a guy having like a 4-hour conversation with AI on his laptop while I'm flying this plane. I was like, let the plane crash. I hate this. I hate this fucking world that I live in right
Dude,
now.
there's so many times in my life that I want like James Bond level gadgets. And it's only when
exactly
I'm
where
so
you're going.
angry and
Yeah.
it's to like, I don't want to kill anybody ever, you
I just
know?
want to deploy some kind of thing to make their laptop go like.
I want something behind my headlights to incapacitate a vehicle quickly. That's not going to kill anybody.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I need some kind of ballistic power from the front end of my car. That's non-lethal, okay?
I need to be able to stun
I need, like, the way-
multiple cars, multiple drives.
That just like does a thing that just shuts the battery down safely and they like it just moves them over and then they have to deal with something for 12 hours and it's a bad day. That's what I want. And then I have the license plate thing that the transporter has where it just goes "Preep," and it's a new license plate.
Have you thought about this before? It doesn't sound
Every
like you've thought about
waking
this
moment of my
before.
life. And then in those situations, yeah, I want something that I can just like a clicker that it just goes "Bzz," and like the battery melts. It like the laptop will never work again.
It breaks their laptop real quick.
Forever in
Yeah.
a way that like they take it in and the guy's like, what happened?
Because I'm
This
getting
was
elbowed
goo.
a little bit. Like they're like
That's
sitting there.
they don't know and they're elbowing you.
They're like he's like sipping coffee. I swear this other guy was kind of like burping right into my zone, and it was not a good smell. And yeah, I'm like boiling, and it's also he's talking to Chat GPT about his new app that he's developing. I'm like, so you're talking to a 5th grade
you actually mean
robot
talking,
about
do
your
you?
new fucking.
He was
thing.
typing, not speaking.
Typing,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, if he was speaking,
Then I was gonna leave this podcast. I was gonna walk out of this building.
hey,
if he was like,
ChatGPT,
yeah.
I got a new idea for this thing that translates the Bible into Albanian. That's my app.
We just they do need that because the island is gonna have to
That's my
pretend to be
whole app.
Christian.
Albanian Bible. The app.
Read by Tom Hanks. Bomba clot as well. That got me so good for weeks.
I actually, yeah, that was fun to say.
Okay, so what were we talking about? Albanian Bibles. Right before that.
A favorite animal, I think, is how we got into this.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Brain damage is crazy.
We really actually prepare for some of these pods, and we like have like a plan, and then we get going, and then it clearly gets derailed.
Mm-hmm.
Well, But anyway, your favorite animal this week was
was either a bald eagle or a turkey vulture or a mute swan
Whatever.
or most unfortunately and quite possible a Canadian goose.
whatever feather that you found.
I'll show you.
Wow, that's
pretty big, right?
That's a beautiful little feather.
It's like 13 inches long with a really fucking thick quill. It was on a beach and
Let's
last
just say
year.
that's an eagle feather.
It's not. Nothing. Everything I've put it through says no.
Oh.
And also, if it is, I would have to. I think eagle feathers do belong to like if there's a local close tribe.
Yep, they do.
Again, not an expert yet, but the arrowhead, I put it through two different I put it through ChatGPT with several angles next to a ruler, and it's their best guesstimate is 5,000 to 3,500 to 5,000 years old, which would predate any Cahokia mounds or any native tribes from this general area.
So
prehistoric.
And you need to talk to a scientist.
Yeah.
Don't talk to me about this. Get out of here.
I'm talking to you guys. Any
Get to-
scientists
get
that
to a
are still
museum.
listening,
Get to a
they're like,
museum.
these guys are only ever wrong.
Yeah, any scientist that's joined us has probably left at some point.
And they're like, oh, they're on Discord? Cool. I'm on Discord every day. And they're like, they're never on Discord, actually. Scientists, please come back. We love you. We need
There's
you.
people on Discord that are just lonely in the desert. They're like, hello? Is anyone there?
The buddy system surely will help.
I was told you'd be on the Discord.
I'm a buddy.
I'm a buddy full time.
We're trying so hard. Promise.
My favorite animal this week
Please tell me.
is the northern coyote, I believe is what it is.
What makes them different from regular old coyotes?
So they were I was just in Maine, and they're some kind of I think they're like a wolf hybrid.
So they're bigger.
Wait, actually, maybe it's not the northern. Maybe it's the eastern island coyote. Sorry.
Chris was on mushrooms in the woods for 3 days. He's like, I
was.
invented a new coyote. Me and the boys, northern fellas.
Invented a new wolf hybrid coyote. Don't worry, everybody. They're referred to as Coywolves. That's a bad
Oh,
name.
I've heard of those. That guy's holding one. Why is his face so long? Is that like a Eastern Bloc type of fellow? Who is that
Probably.
guy?
Most people that have wolves are Russian.
Or the most people that are willing to just grab one out of the woods.
Yeah.
Look,
This is mine now.
don't care if I die.
This is my pet. It wants to kill me. Very cute, no?
But knows I too want to kill it, and it's Cape Cod.
So we were on Acadia National Park. We were out at night. It was really dark. I feel like every time I open Safari on my computer or my phone, it tells me that I can see and will see the Northern Lights soon.
Based on where your current location is.
Yeah, they're always like, Northern Lights could be seen near you. And I'm like, oh, cool. So we went out in the middle of the night to go smoke a spliff by the water and look up at the night sky to try to see if we could see the Northern Lights. We saw the Milky Way. We saw a million stars. We saw shooting stars, satellites. I mean, it was amazing.
Cool.
Greg has an app on his phone that can tell you what the different
I've got two.
constellations
I actually just
are.
got a new one last night.
I don't doubt that you do. You have an app to figure out everything in the world.
I need to know right away.
Yeah. But we're sitting there. We're enjoying our time. We're on the water. It's beautiful. And then we heard 12 coyotes, wolves just start howling at the moon. Yeah, yip, 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 yeah, yeah. And it was just eerie. I mean, they were close enough to hear. They're far enough to not be really scared.
Yeah, yeah.
It was also the middle of the night in coastal Maine, which is Stephen Kingville.
Did you have a fire near you?
No.
Knives?
We had
Any bear spray?
nothing. The most protection I had was my flashlight on my phone.
The most protection they had was you.
Yeah.
Straight up.
Yeah. Oh, Greg and Jeff?
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, I think Greg would put up a decent fight.
he would.
Jeff too. It's not.
That's true.
Acadia National Park.
I'm just saying, if we're talking about sheer size and
Yeah,
familiarity with
unfortunately-
nature,
Unfortunately,
we're talking,
Well, yeah, we're running. We are running. We're not sticking around to try to battle coy wolves. We're fucked.
yeah, but by
they
the
were
time
just-
they surround you, you're fucked already.
It was stunning. So beautiful to hear them. Just I love hearing nature, a big group of predators like that too is that's really cool.
It reminds you that you're like, whoa.
Yeah, to be in a national park. Then went back to our Airbnb. I'm sleeping in my bed, little futon thing, and windows were open. We were getting like a nice little cross breeze between them,
Yeah.
and then I hear them again as I'm going to sleep.
Nice.
So that's my favorite animal because they sung me to sleep the other day.
That is awesome. And when you're inside, you're like, I'm super safe now.
What do you think the wolves are yelling when they howl?
I want to think that they're like, this is awesome. Fucking love you guys.
You guys, I fucking love you.
But it's got to be territorial. And I think there's something contagious about it.
Yeah.
Like one of my favorite dog I've ever known, my buddy Luke's dog, Finnegan. It was one of those dogs that like I really truly feel he had some kind of like disembodied like human soul in him.
Yeah.
In a way I've only experienced with maybe a couple dogs in my life, you know?
Right. Okay.
And this was like we could get it. He was like part Australian Shepherd, part not sure. That some people thought Blue Heeler. He was big, so some people thought he might have like a little bit of Great Dane, not sure. But he would like sometimes we we'd be like a little stoned, and we would be like, and he'd be like, don't. He would like paw at us, be like, don't, like come on, like please don't. And we would both be like,
That's so.
and he'd be like, like, he like didn't want to, and it would like we also had to be in the right mood because like come on, he doesn't feel like it right now.
Do this.
And he'd be like,
Don't. You're gonna infect me.
please,
You're gonna call for the
don't.
wild.
It was like truly so
It's like
funny.
you fucking guys.
I loved him so much. I think about him sometimes. He's
Yeah.
a great dog.
Dude, a good dog is kind of unbeatable.
Nothing better, man. Good dog, good horse.
I consider myself a cat person
Good
just
friend.
because I don't think I can be a good dog guy. But yeah,
Well, they're a lot more hands-on.
yeah.
You've been gone for like 20 days straight. Dogs hate that.
Dog's dead.
They actually
Weird.
died.
I don't know what happened.
Place is good. It stinks though. Dog's dead.
Dogs hate it when you don't
Yeah.
feed or walk them for 20 days straight. Yeah. My cats, of course, had a cat sitter who one cat loves, and the other one, who's my cat, technically, she like texted us 3 days in a row and was like, haven't seen Moose yet. Like,
Oh, nice.
So he just hides from her.
Sure.
He's a little piece of shit. But she's like, the food's gone, but he's nowhere to be found.
I mean, straight up, dude. Okay, if I was him, and they're like, all right, some person's gonna come over that you don't know,
Yeah.
and they're gonna take care of your shit. You could either like come out and do something, or you can just like kind of do your thing.
He just chills in the closet.
Yeah, later, dude.
Yeah.
You're here for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I can go.
Go pet Corn. She likes that shit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm out.
Yeah.
How was that chick? Was she weird? Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Let me know
I don't-
later.
I didn't feel like strangers today.
You have a cat energy to you.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
When it comes to somebody that I'm like, I don't know. But then I force the dog out, and then I think it, you know,
Right.
everyone's getting, I got that dog in me.
Hey, well, this episode's been depleted.
Is it really?
It's over,
We didn't even talk
bitch.
about things we wrote.
Yep. Once again.
I was going to talk about how you. I had this thought and I looked it up and it's confirmed. Garys are disappearing.
There's no longer.
When
many
was the last time you saw a baby Gary?
I haven't seen a baby Gary in a while.
There's a reason for it, and it's you know.
I feel like Gary is a name you earn.
Well, it was
through,
popular
like-
for a while, and now it's no more. And
It's like you were a guy just named Jack, but now for your deeds and bravery, we shall call you Gary.
today from now on, Gary.
Gary, you're an adult
But-
boy with a big beard. Now you're Gary.
Baby Garys, dude. Tell me when the last time you saw one of those.
I haven't seen a baby Gary in years.
It's like pigeon. People never see baby pigeons
Yep.
or Garys.
We should adopt a kid, name him Gary.
Let's go buy a kid straight cash.
Let's raise him together.
We got to bring the. I mean, honestly, it's like a cultural
Kinda
rebirth.
on us to bring Gary's back.
I don't know.
My new name's Gary.
Hey, you guys, I'm Gary, and this is my friend Gary.
Gary, thank you for listening to the Buddy System
Thank
podcast.
you for listening to the Buddy Garys.
I've been Gary.
I have also been Gary.
Please be sure to follow and subscribe on all streaming platforms. We're featured on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and Gary Podtown.
Gary.com, Gary.gov, and org, and all those links can be found on our Instagram page, Buddy System Pod, where you can also join our Patreon. Get early access to the episodes, bonus content, direct access through, most importantly, our Discord channel.
Which
Thank
is
you so much.
thriving. If you're named Gary, you have your own channel there.
Everyone, I'm Gary. We're going to send you $5, but you got to be under 10, and there's none of you guys, so fucking good luck, Gary.
Yeah, we're looking for Gary's under 10.
Well, actually, we can't end it like that. This is became an illegal podcast.
Under 10 Garys. If they're out there, we're looking.
We're giving away free money in the Discord.
Yeah, if you are a Gary and you're under 10, we're giving you $50, no questions asked.
I'm not
We're
part of
just
the
trying
we
to-
legally.
We're trying to invest in your future as a Gary.
It'll be put in a trust that your parents have control of until you turn 18, Gary's.
Yeah.
Nothing weird.
New episodes every Tuesday, Garys. We'll see you later.
Love you, Gary's.
Thanks.
Bye.
That's fun. Maybe we call a section of our fan base the Garys. Yeah. That's if you're under 10 and your name is Gary.